is what I really want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we glorify genocide? Why do we glorify? And I know, like I said, in my head, it's been infiltrated with the storylines and the music, with the storylines in the movies. So it's been given to us like this is the norm. You know what I mean? And like, why do we not reject that? Being that, knowing that, just one of my friends, just it's been 15 years, dude, and they just found out the killer. When that happened, dude, that shook the whole community of Miami. You know what I'm saying? Like one person, committing a murder, shook a whole community of people, a family. You know what I mean? That's what happens when people die. You know what I'm saying? So why do we sit there and act like it's cool?
How long? I don't. That's a serious question, man. I think when I think about like it's funny that and I know like you talk about you go through like football and stuff like that is a good avenue to kind of talk about like mindset and stuff like that, because athletics requires you to work to get to where you want to go. And it's interesting that like when I think about examples of like if I'm like a little kid, right, and I'm like a little black kid, and it's what do you want to be when you grow up, right? How many different examples of like different things do you see people that look like you represented in? It's not a lot more than rapping and athletics.
Yep.
And I don't know where I really don't know how the violence kind of, I think you just get conditioned to it, like you said, because it's already been so ingrained into our quote unquote culture that by the time you're cognitive of what they're actually saying, it's just like, it is what it is. You're listening to it. You think it's in one ear and out the other, but I mean, people rap the words too. So, hey, they having fun. I don't know where that comes from. It's all a mix, man. I guess the if the movies are violent and the music is violent, then it goes together. It goes hand in hand, right?
Right. It does. It definitely goes hand in hand. And you mentioned before, sometimes the artist is here, sometimes the people that's running the label is here. So my question is, who's running all these big labels? Right? Because they are the ones that's letting the message get out, basically promoting the message. If we know that they control the message, right? Because if it's up to the artist is just gonna, do what artists do, create art. And after a while, sometimes if you even just say if we talk about Lil Wayne did a rock album, he kind of ventured out, and then sometimes you can see when he get real back in. I don't listen to him now, so I can't speak too much or whatever the case may be. But like somebody's creative, just thinking of a regular artist, somebody who draws, who paints, they explore, they do things, and if somebody's creative with words, wouldn't they do the same? Like explore different topics and, different genres of music and, mixing it up and just be an artist. You know what I mean? Instead of mixing up the words to how many times they can say, nigga, nigga, bitch, I'll shoot you in the face, nigga, nigga, bitch, nigga, mix that up in all your songs.
It's a tough situation because it's like it's continuing to pay out, so there's it's supply and demand. It's kind of simple, like they just gonna keep paying for it.
But that's why I call infiltration, because we're not the ones running these big labels, you know what I mean? And I feel like, of course more representation would help. But at the same time, why would you want to continue to put out a message that's destroying your people? Just like you said, now you have rappers actually killing rappers. We thought that was just music. Like it's actually happening now.
Right.
Like, dude, like I see like, and like I said, I respect the creativity in those guys. Those guys are creative, and I guess if influenced the right way, they can create beautiful projects. If influenced the right way, obviously they're not being influenced to promote non-violence. They're not being, taught to promote love. They're not being, because at the same time, because if the label gets what they want. And at the same time, think about this, right? It's a reason why we hear certain songs over and over and over. It's the machine. Like these big, like just say the Baby or whatever, these guys that sign to these big, record labels, they have a machine. They put them behind the machine. It's the reason why you hear it all the time. They force you to like it. The machine, you know what I mean? And a lot of people don't know that. The machine is going to continue to put it out and put it in your face because these companies have money to run these ads. They have money to pay these radio stations. It is pay for play. That you might think it's not.
No, definitely.
You might think it's not. Try to get your music on the radio, see what happens.
Yeah, and they exactly, like, and people have exposed it for that, like in that way, like people telling stories about trying to get music on the radio, and then basically that's really the only way to do it. You got to grease somebody's pockets to get to where you want. And speaking to that, and you was talking about getting deep, it's not really deep, but more so on like a cultural, like philosophical level. I think it's indicative of like the shift, and I don't know if there was ever like a big like morality piece in like American culture, but like going from morals to like profit, you get what I'm saying? Because if you think about it, a lot of what they talk about is like, chasing bread, and the rappers, they show themselves as guys that have all this money. And really, and I'm thinking about it like as a young dude with my peers and stuff like that, that's really kind of all we want, you know what I'm saying? Because it's preached that, once you get your bread, you got everything you need.
You said we were influenced two ways, and I fell for one and you fell for one too, sports, music, you know what I mean? That's what we saw. Not saying like we didn't see other people in our community, like I didn't see my dad working or other people working in the community, but we were infiltrated by the television and the music because we thought that was reality instead of being attached to what we actually saw around us, like it depends on what neighborhood you
Yeah, exactly. It depends. Yeah, then you get back into that. It depends on where you're going.
But the whole thing, what I realized about life is everything is perspective. Even though I grew up in the inner city of Miami, even though my dad was a server at the Hilton, he got up every day to go to work. And a lot of people are like, in a sense, ashamed, you know what I mean, of certain things. Like, just say, for instance, Donald, dad, he got up every day to drive that taxi. You know what I'm saying? He was consistent, and they got their bread and they had their homes. Yeah, granted, they didn't live these lavish lives.
Right.
You only know what you're exposed to. You know what I mean? So now that we see that on television, we think, oh, that's the life I want. I don't want to get up and work like my dad every day. You know what I mean? So it's all perspective. So we zoom in, and I think that's what the guy Anton was saying. We zoom in and all of the money and the lifestyle and everything else, and we don't realize what it takes to get there. And is this realistic for my life? You know what I mean? And what? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, not to mention too, if you're hearing like you talk about like abundance a lot, right? And being in like an abundance mindset, and if you continuously hearing like somebody talk about stuff that they have, is gonna continuously put you in this state of wanting, always wanting, needing something more to fulfill your life or whatever it is. So you're always gonna be chasing something, you're never really gonna be content if you always got somebody like pushing a different designer, maybe, a different whatever it is,
Man, dude, and not knocking that, and that's another thing that we talk about, that's part of like a topic all the time, is designer clothes. You know what I mean? And
I'm knocking it because it costs them $5 to make it wherever they're making it, type of deal. But nah, everybody it's interesting. Nobody else kind of has to deal with that. I don't know,
No, it's true, and it's funny. That was on one of my questions. I don't know if I asked the question, but what other genre of music, promotes genocide or violence? You know what I mean? Like, what other culture do you see that? Or listen, even if you just say, for instance, if we listen to, our music, I don't know how much you're into Haitian music. That's not what they talking about. I don't know about now. I don't want to speak. But when I was growing up, It was a lot of baby making music. That's what they love talking about.
A lot of sweetness.
A lot of
sure.
sweetness, yeah. A lot of
definitely.
dancing music. You know what I mean? That type of stuff. You know, Caribbean style.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know any other genre of music where it's basically negative, where you talk about killing people, you know, degrading women, or, you know, whatever, or even even getting money. I don't think I've ever heard.
You know,
we know as adults that's what you got to do is get money, because you're not gonna be able to survive. But at the same time, I never even heard a genre of music talk about getting money. I can be wrong. Tell me. I
mean, I don't know. I would say this is just one example, but like, you know, rap is kind of global now, so it's everywhere, and there's certain music and stuff like that, like even Spanish music. Like I listen to a lot of music. Some, like how you said with words, sometimes I listen to music with words like in a different language. Like I don't understand it sometimes, but it contributes more to the sonic and less of, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't have to tune into it as much, whatever. It does not consume. Because sometimes I listen to music, I'm like, yo, shut up. You get what I'm saying? Like stop talking type deal. Like you just yapping over the beat, right?
Yeah.
But like even in like some different types of music that come from Mexico and stuff like that, there's like a subgenre now that's really popular that is more like violent and more about like running drugs and stuff like that, and kind of that's more what they talk about, and it's more popular with like the young kids and stuff like that now, for sure. Yeah, so the rap is kind of contributing to that, and I feel like it's growing in that way, definitely.
Oh.
Yeah,
man, I want to see that community, or those communities 10 years from now, to see if it's a difference of the people and how they treat each other. You know what I mean? Because I really believe, I don't like, as just being from my background, you know, having the opportunity to coach, having the opportunity to teach. And when I was teaching, I taught middle school, and I coached middle school and high school, and some of the kids are in college now. And you watch some of these kids, and just me as a teacher, I watch some of these kids that people say are quote unquote bad, or before, just say even before I taught, I worked in a group home. I worked in group homes, and some of these kids were gang members. These kids were not bad. They were just misinformed and influenced by the wrong people. I'm just being honest with you. Like having conversation with kids that people quote unquote say are bad, they're just misguided with
when you say misinformed. Okay, when you say misinformed, what do you mean by that?
Bad
like
information, like what we talking about with rap music, like what's cool and what to glorify.
Okay, right.
You know what I mean? A lot of people are misinformed, because the whole thing is, I could have easily been misinformed, but I had a dad in the house to smack me straight.